Natalie, we were talking about in the break about how your son he's really been impacted by being able to make connections with other, I don't want to say kids because he's not a kid anymore. He's an adult, but with other young adults who have some of the same developmental disabilities that he has. Talk about that.
So a couple of things. First of all, both Cindy's kids, again, we say affectionately. So both Cindy's kids and our son, both gave us permission to share our family's journeys because our son doesn't want anybody else to suffer the way our family
Mhm.
suffered. And I know Cindy talks about that too. We did a lot of suffering. And you just spoke about brokenness. And in our brokenness, the Lord fills his light. And we want to really shine that and really, just magnify God's goodness in the light, in our brokenness. Our son has been broken so often on his journey. However, of course, by knowing that the Lord has been bringing our family through this, and by making connections with other young adults that have the same diagnosis or similar, the same similar disability that he has, that's been a real important lifeline for him as a young adult that has a developmental disability. For him to say, "Hey, you know what? My friend so and so has, also has an FASD or also
Mhm.
has, say Asperger's, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
And they tell me that I'm amazing, and like Cindy says, when oftentimes our kids don't really want to hear it from their parents just because, we talk a lot and whatnot. But when they hear it from their peers, especially their peers who are different,
Mhm.
it really is a blessing because so often our kids are not included in so many things. Our son has shared that there have been so many situations where he's just felt like, he's different and hasn't been accepted. So
Mhm.
to have somebody else that has that same journey
Yep.
and that has that connection that they can,
Yep.
that is such a that is God's orchestration when the Lord places another family or kids that have similar diagnoses or similar journeys. That is such a blessing, and I really want to encourage people that the talk about your the whatever the diagnosis is, it doesn't just stop when they're kids. It continues, it's lifelong.
Mhm.
So acknowledging that, when they're older, when they find, when they find that group that they can connect with and that can bring them up the way we know, the Lord wants them to be brought up, that embrace that and look for that. And I honestly saw that in Cindy and her family. We don't live close. We live, on other sides of the country,
Yeah.
but in her family, my son sees this, amazing family that they have, her three children have the same diagnosis as our son, and they're running this successful, wonderful business, So that speaks life into
Sure.
him. So having other peers that have similar, diagnoses or just similar journeys, having them speak life into them, that really is such a blessing, especially when they get to this, later stage of being a young adult.
Yeah, I think that is true with any of us
Sure.
because when we think about being around people who are like-minded, I'm thinking about as a homeschool mom, if you were the only homeschool mom in your whole town and you didn't know another homeschool person or in the world, how would you relate to anybody? You would be very, very, very lonely. And so I absolutely agree and I appreciate you saying that. It is so important for our kids to be connected with people who get them.